This additional appropriation was not from any change of policy, but simply to maintain an existing level of ACC cover. I also find it strange that Labor would make this claim when it seemed no problem at all for them to promise in the middle of an election campaign interest-free student loans, big increases in working for families, or many other initiatives. It seems that if it's good news, Labor can do it. If it's bad news, they hide it.
Come to question number 5. Point of order, the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
I seek leave to table 2 documents, Mr Speaker. The first is the advice from ACC of the 14th of August to the former Minister, giving the indicative outline of changes to the appropriation baselines, approximately $300 million 09 to 13.
Leave is sought for
and
that
also
document.
The accompanying documents from DOL and Treasury challenging that advice and telling the former Minister that they were seeking independent actuarial advice.
Is there any objection to those documents being tabled? There is objection. We come now. Order. Point of order, the Honourable Nick Smith.
I seek leave of the House.
You'd only sought leave on the first, so I think my point of order comes before the Ministers.
Order. Both members will resume their seat. As I heard the honourable member, I thought she described 2 documents, because if she wasn't describing 2 documents, her description was way too long, and I alert her to that. I had given the call on a point of order to the Honourable Nick Smith, and that point of order will be heard now.
Mr Speaker, there is 3 documents I seek the leave of the House to table. The first of those is a report by PricewaterhouseCoopers dated the 7th of August 2008, valuing the outstanding claim liabilities for ACC. The second document I seek leave is with respect to the report to the former Minister on the 14th of August 2008, detailing to 3 decimal places the additional appropriations required. And the third report I seek leave to table is a technical report, Vote ACC, dated the 22nd of August 2008, which is the review and the confirmation of the size of the appropriation that was required.
Is there any objection to those documents being tabled? There is no objection. Point of order, Honourable Ruth Dyson.
I seek leave to table the advice from the Department of Labor given to the former Minister of ACC about the fact that it was considered unconstitutional for Cabinet at that time to make decisions.
Is there any objection to that document being tabled? There is no objection. We come then to question number 5 in the name of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. Does his confidence in supply agreement with the ACT Party, imply that he is suspicious of climate change and not even sure it is a problem, or that he's a firm believer in climate change and always has been?
Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the member can rest assured that I believe human-induced climate change is occurring and that my government will take a balanced approach to reducing New Zealand's greenhouse gas emissions. Speaker, I guess what we've learnt post the election is that I believe in human-induced climate change a lot more than that member believes in the Electoral Finance Act.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, which of the 4 contradictory positions which the New Zealand Herald says that the government has held on emissions trading over the last 6 weeks, or indeed which of the 2 contradictory positions the Prime Minister has stated, which were quoted in the original question, is the government's actual position?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the government's position is that we'll be holding a high-level select committee chaired by the Honourable Peter Dunn to review the climate change legislation that's in place, and it's the government's view that that should be passed by the 30th of September 2009.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, what confidence can the country have in the Prime Minister's claim that he's committed to combating climate change and that he's committed to the Kyoto Protocol when every action that he has taken since the election has moved New Zealand in the opposite direction, suspending the emissions trading scheme, repealing the biofuel obligations, opening up the expansion of thermal generation and scrapping energy conservation measures such as insulating older homes.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the member can rest assured that the government will be taking a balanced approach when it comes to climate change, balancing our environmental responsibilities with our economic opportunities. But I might point out to the member, Mr Speaker, that for all of the rhetoric of the last 9 years, it won't be lost on the member that under his government, when they were in office, the emissions rose faster in New Zealand than they did in America under George W. Bush.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, why has the government pulled the rug out from under Biofuel Oils New Zealand Limited's $10 million investment in research and development, which has the impact of slowing New Zealand's achievement of self-sufficiency in transport fuel and increasing Kyoto costs? And is it, as former National President Sue Wood has suggested, because of pressure on the government from vested interests in the oil industry?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the government is committed to ensuring that biofuels play a part in our future, but I should point out that he will be aware, as others are aware, that the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment herself actually indicated that biofuels, unless they could be sure they are from a sustainable source, actually shouldn't be included. And rather than mandating that we take on biofuels from a source that we can't be sure that they are sustainable, we're actually going to build up a proper supply and they'll be used in the future.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Prime Minister. Can the Prime Minister confirm what the level of deforestation under the previous government was and what was New Zealand's emissions profile for the last 9 years has been?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, in answer to the member's question, I can confirm that New Zealand lost 37,000 hectares of forest in the last 5 years, while New Zealand's greenhouse gas emissions grew by 12%, faster than the United States and Australia, and suggests that with the previous Labor government, while they like to talk a lot about climate change, their record was far from anything to be proud of.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, to what extent did New Zealand's changing position on emissions trading and climate change affect his credibility and undermine his ability to persuade Gordon Brown to remove the sustainability tax on long-distance travel? Or was the real problem the strength of his advocacy, about which the Dominion Post said, quote, "Hopefully he was a more compelling advocate of New Zealand's interests behind closed doors"?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Sorry, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the minister, the member, yeah, he was a minister once. Good old days, I guess, for him. The member will be aware, actually, if he's done his homework, that the departure tax being proposed by the United Kingdom is unfounded, that it is not with good basis, that it proposes to put on a departure tax that is, in fact, larger than could be reasonably justified by any reasonable carbon tax. And in fact,